comes in the night, it can only mean one thing.
The Addams family is in the movies.
Aha! Showtime!
They're as close to a perfect family unit as you could get. Unlike anybody else, and quite pleased to be unlike anybody else. They have 2 lovely children, albeit they're a little strange. We have odd dining habits.
What is this?
Mama's spécialité de la maison.
Start with the eyes.
And we have an extremely dark and shady, deadly nightshade kind of a history.
Mother and Father Adam. How I wish the children could have known them better. But tell that to an angry mom.
Gomez is very much in love with Morticia. They have a very passionate, romantic relationship.
Last night you were unhinged. You were like some desperate, howling demon. You frightened me. Do it again.
As soon as I heard Raul was doing it, I looked forward to looking into those half-lidded eyes.
Son, il me perce comme un poignard.
No, Tish. That's French.
Oui.
When Morticia speaks French to Gomez, Gomez completely loses control and goes for it.
It is divine.
50.
I have $50,000.
And my ecstasy.
50,000 going once.
What are they doing?
50,000 going twice.
We are really enjoying ourselves. There's an atmosphere of humor and fun in the set all the time.
Mamushka! You do the honors. I've got a real treat in store. Where is it?
This is the first time I work with Christopher Lloyd. He has this look that he thought of, and this kind of smirk and this kind of look in his face that he came up with that I think is just brilliant.
Showtime! Oh, God!
It's really amazing. I mean, when I thought of Chris Lloyd, I think of someone who's tall and lanky and thin. And I think of Uncle Fester as sort of a short, bald, fat man. He'll be standing up tall and thin, and you say, ready, roll camera. It's like you press a button, and he drops down a foot.
Sorry, but I have to get back. Got a lot of things cooking in the Bermuda Triangle.
The complete family, from Crone to kids.
Stop it.
To the lurking butler Lurch, was created by cartoonist Charles Addams.
Oh, my head! My head!
I was very fond of Charles Addams cartoons, particularly when I was growing up, when I was a little girl in Ireland. We didn't have television, so I was sort of raised on the cartoons in the New Yorker. And so I was playing Morticia actually at a very early age, when I was about 6 or 7.
Children, what are you doing?
My screen children are wonderful. Christina Ricci, who plays Wednesday, she's worked all kinds of things out for herself. Wednesday sleeps, like a vampire. So when she goes to sleep, she doesn't breathe.
She just, she's really evil. I knew that.
Jimmy Workman was cast as Pugsley Addams when he accompanied his sister to an audition.
They asked, do you have a brother downstairs? And she said, yeah, a fat one with freckles. And then they flew me out here. It's great to have a chance to do all this really wicked stuff. It has to warm up.
Granny's a cannibalistic matriarch. She does the cooking. She's very good at dishes that cast spells. One decapitated rooster, the tears of an unborn monkey. It's these little flavorings that give her a reputation.
Lloyd, as most of us know, is the butler of the Addams family. I think they probably long ago went into the graveyard and put something together, and that's Lurch.
We've taken Thing and allowed him to leave the box, so our disembodied hand crawls throughout the set and is sort of their pet. And in fact, at one crucial moment in the film sort of becomes Lassie Come Home, where Thing runs for help to save the family.
Again.
You've done this before.
Gomez does most of the work, at least the physical work. I've not had to sing opera or do backflips or fence.
Ah, missed!
He's very swashbuckling. While he's having the business meeting, he likes to sword fight.
There were stunt doubles standing by.
Had enough?
Ha!
But we decided we wanted to do the dueling ourselves, and we practiced with a very good dueling master, B.H. Barry.
Fine lunge, but your riposte, a tad rusty.
I was very much impressed by the sets. It's like you're in this old mansion that's been in the family for hundreds of years. Everything supports the acting, the furniture, the pictures, the wonderful costumes. You actually feel that you're there in your own home.
Your attention, please. Tonight we dance for our treasured guest of honor, Fester Addams.
It's very much, I think, I hope what Charles Addams intended.
Oh, Tish, what more could we ask?
Gomez.
Cara mia, is it true?
Mon amour.
She was beheaded by her own children!
Yay!
It's really funny because whenever there's Halloween, I read about the things you should watch on Halloween, and it's often Addams Family.
Is it unpleasant?
Deeply. I love the actors. I love the characters.
Oh, Tish, what more could we ask?
It was my first movie. Making the Addams Family was really hard, and to have it end up being that successful meant a lot to me.
Fester. Some called him inhumanly evil. No, only our parents.
So growing up, I was a huge fan of the Charles Addams drawings in the New Yorker magazine. They were dark, they were visual, they were sophisticated. It took you a while to figure out where the joke was. So I was a huge Charles Addams fan. He was my favorite cartoonist.
Don't torture yourself, Gomez.
I used to be a cinematographer.
That's my job.
I had shot the first 3 Coen Brothers movies and, Big, Throw Mama from the Train. I was a cinematographer on both When Harry Met Sally and Misery for Rob Reiner. I was in Los Angeles finishing up the making of Misery when the front desk called and said, we're sending up a package from Scott Rudin, who was the producer of Addams Family, and it was the script for Addams Family, and I didn't like the script at all. I was not trying to be a director. I was very happy being a cinematographer, but I also loved the Addams Family, the Charles Addams drawings. So I met Scott, told him that I thought the script needed a lot of work and I wasn't looking to be a director. And I asked why he would consider me to be the director. And I think Scott really wanted a visual stylist. It would have been easy to go with a comedy director, but there are very few comedy directors that have a visual style. In fact, so many comedies are sort of like anti-style. Most directors use the camera as a recording device, and I use it as a storytelling device, and those are very different. The cinematographer, one of the great cameramen, Owen Roizman, agreed to meet me and talk about being cinematographer for me. And I said, I promise you I'll never get involved in lighting. I just want 3 things. First of all, I want to choose the lenses. He said, great, less work for me. And then the second thing is I said, I'll never tell you anything about lighting except I want Morticia to have her own motivated light, lit like a Carel photograph, where their eyes are beautifully lit and their forehead and their chin area are in shadow. And Owen said, I love that idea. And the third thing I said is I'd like him to use the slower film stock, which was called 5247. It takes more lights, it's slower to work with because it's less sensitive to light, but it was a beautiful stock. It was rich, it was saturated, and I thought the Addams family should have this rich blacks and contrast and saturation. And he said, okay, I'll do the movie and I'll use the slow stock. So I hired Owen Roizman. I knew that if I was going to be successful as a director, I had to find a cameraman so good that he would force me away from the camera and towards those horrible people that others call actors.
Gomez, last night you were unhinged. You were like some desperate howling demon.
Raul Julia was born to play Gomez.
Do it again.
The thing about Raul and Gomez is they both have total joy of life. Whether it's sadness, happiness, as long as it's emotional, that was Raul. And we were very lucky to cast Anjelica Huston as Morticia. And they were both so perfect together. And Raul was Gomez in terms of his joy of life. And Morticia is perfectly portrayed by Anjelica because she's so statuesque. Raul is all energy, and Anjelica is all grounded.
Children,
Put down that antenna.
Christina Ricci, who played Wednesday, she was brought in by the casting people.
Wow.
At our first table read, at the end of the original draft that we read that day, the end of the movie is that Fester is an imposter. It's not the real Fester. That's how our first draft ended. And the cast, after the read-through, all gathered around, and Anjelica says, you know, we're very unhappy with the ending of the script, and we have chosen Christina, who was either 9 or maybe just 10 at the time, to be our spokesperson. Christina, in the most articulate way, explained all the reasons why Fester had to be the real Fester at the end of the movie. And she was so articulate, we changed the script. So Christina was another brilliant addition to our show.
Stop it.
Pugsley.
Jimmy Workman came in with his sister, who was a person that came in for the audition to play Wednesday. And this actress said, by the way, everyone says my brother looks like Pugsley. Really? Yeah, he's in the waiting room. Bring him in. So we hired Jimmy Workman as Pugsley, but didn't hire his sister. I wondered about that family dynamic for the next 20 years.
Miss!
Raul Julia and Danny Hedaya are two very different actors. And I had worked with Danny Hedaya on Blood Simple, the first movie I shot for the Coen brothers. Raul was all about physicality, and Danny was all about everything hurts. Everything hurts. On Blood Simple, we would have a stunt person if he had to sit and then stand up. Two very different kind of actors. But we had this great sword fight between Gomez and Tully, and it was designed by B.H. Barry, one of the great sword fight designers. And what was interesting about him is he had them use real swords, unsheathed. It was a great sword fight. Raul loved it. There's lots of stunts. And there was a great guy named Keith Campbell who doubled Gomez, who was an Olympic gymnast. Carel Struycken is fantastic as Lurch, close to 7 feet tall. And he came in for an audition, and we immediately knew that he would be great, because in comedies, people think they have to be funny, and that ruins every comedy. And what's great about Addams Family is the situation is funny, the characters are absurd. Now they just have to play it for the reality of who they are and what the scene is without ever trying to be funny. So whether it was Morticia or Gomez or Lurch, no one's ever trying to be funny. just play the reality, and that was what was great about our cast. They all played the reality of their characters. Thing was one of the hardest things to cast. For one thing, this is pre-CGI or any sort of electronic computer graphics.
Thank you, Thing.
We didn't have a lot of money for Thing. And Orion, which is the studio, had just done Oliver Stone's The Hand.
Thing, you're a handful.
And had lost a lot of money on The Hand. And they kept saying to me, we don't want to do another movie about a hand. And I said, all of our shots with Thing are going to be done in camera. We're going to, erase the rest of his body of the person playing Thing. And we brought in this guy, Chris Hart. And he was fantastic. He has very long fingers. And we gave him a prosthetic additional wrist. So if you looked at the dailies, you would see Chris sort of walking his hands down a hallway and stuff. And then we would erase that. It was all very, very, very low tech. We would cut holes in tables and stick his hand up through a table so Gomez and Thing could talk to each other. Thing ended up being a great character. One of the things I really like about Addams Family is that it is very low tech. It doesn't have any CG or computer graphics for the hand, and I think the movie is better because of that. And action. And then the other amazing person we had.
You tell me. You first.
Was Chris Lloyd as Fester.
Junior Spaceman.
And he was so passionate about it.
Sorry, but I have to get back. Got a lot of things cooking in the Bermuda Triangle.
Aha! Showtime!
We were also very lucky to have Richard McDonald, who was a production designer. And one of the things that Richard did on Addams Family is ignored Charles Addams' drawings and built the Addams Family mansion much more elegant. There are many more curves, and there's a huge, beautiful curving staircase and a beautiful ballroom. So Richard totally embraced the romantic beauty of the Addams Family home in a way, actually, that really helped us because it added a certain rich elegance.
Is that for your brother? I don't think so.
The movie was at Orion Pictures. Orion was known as a director's studio. And in fact, the proof is that they would be willing to hire me to direct, a first-time director to direct a fairly big, important movie for them. Making The Addams Family was a very difficult experience. It went way over budget, way over schedule, many, many, many weeks over schedule. Halfway through it, Orion ran out of money and we were the most viable thing to sell. So halfway through the making of Addams Family, our show was sold to Paramount Pictures. And the new chairman of Paramount came in, hated the dailies. So it was a nightmare and it was painful. And I had never directed before. I fainted on the set one morning.
Haven't you ever slaughtered anyone? Aim for a major artery. That juggler!
There were good days on the set. There were many bad days, many long days, many days of suffering. But there were days where we had a good time.
I knew you couldn't stay away, old man.
So one of my favorite scenes is when Pugsley and Wednesday put on their school play, performing a sword fight, and they literally cut off each other's limbs. And blood goes pouring out of each limb. And the joy is the static shot where no one is doing anything. I always say, let the audience find the comedy. So cut to nothing but the entire audience frozen, covered in blood, and the laugh goes from here to 10 times the amount, just with people doing nothing in the audience but sitting there like a frozen painting. That felt like a Charles Addams cartoon to me. There's a great dance number that involves juggling and swords and all that, called the Mamushka, written by Comden and Green, famous Broadway show lyricist.
We danced the Mamushka for Jack the Ripper.
The Mamushka was a lot of fun because we had a lot of characters we introduced who were relatives or friends of the Addams family. And it was a place to put all these great Charles Addams ideas that never made it anywhere else into the movie. In fact, we introduced Cousin It. We also had these twins turned into a Siamese twin. So it was really fun to add all these great characters. It took about a week to shoot that scene, and it was a formal dance. So all the men were in tuxedos, and I directed in a tuxedo every day. I came to the set for 7 days in my tuxedo.
Major?
Spells and hexes.
Liberal arts.
The scene I'm least proud of is the scene where Morticia is now a pre-K teacher, and she's reading pre-K children Hansel and Gretel. She goes, and how would that make you feel, children, if you were stuffed into an oven? And, you know, these kids are 4 years old. What do you expect them to do? So I had them stare and look sad. And I thought I was done. And the producer said, you don't have the scene. You have to make those kids cry. And I said, how do you make 4-year-olds cry on cue? He says, it's your problem. You're the director. Figure it out. I went back. I told the cameraman, put on zoom lenses, make sure you get close-ups of each kid. I'm going to make them cry. And I'm not proud of this. I went to the kids. I said, roll camera. I knew we were rolling. I went to the kids and I said, all right, kids, you're all done. You guys did great. All you need to do is get your measles shot and we're done. Just at the end, it won't hurt too much. They all started to cry, started to wail. So at the end of that scene, when you see all those kids crying, those are real tears because I was so horrible.
Are they dead? Does it matter?
When the movie came out, word of mouth was that we had a good movie.
How do you like it?
He's gonna break hearts.
And they even wrote that we might make as much as 12 million for the opening weekend, which would have been a lot back then. And we opened to twice that. We opened to over $24 million.
Everyone keeps asking where he bought his costume.
It is a wonderful hat.
It's done as a joke, but all these reviewers that wrote, it's the most dysfunctional family ever. I sort of take exception. The parents love their children. The children love their parents. The parents are supportive of the kids, whether it's making bombs or guillotines or whatever. They give unconditional love. Also, it's very romantic. The love of Gomez and Morticia is so real and palpable. I think what makes the Addams family so successful to this day is it's about the most functional family ever.